Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brooke In The Air. Today, finishing up and continuing, unless we do a little Cost Curious 2, our
We
analysis.
probably should, but we
Yeah.
might need to cover Boeing first.
We'll do Star Alliance next week for us to have them all in a row.
Oh no, we did Star Alliance already.
Have them all in a row.
Oh yeah.
Have them all in a row. So, again, continuing this week with OneWorld Alliance. This is the smallest of the three major airline alliances by far, with only 13 members. They have two co-chair inter-alliance members. But generally speaking, this is exclusive to the OneWorld Alliance. They fly to roughly 1,000 destinations. I'm sorry, no, that's wrong. 1,000 airports and 170 destinations worldwide. Let's see. From their website, I can tell you their goal, their mission statement. Their services outlined in their mission statements includes smoother transfers for passengers traveling across all member airlines, greater support to passengers regardless of which member airline they're traveling with, greater range of around-the-world products, enhanced cooperation with member airlines' frequent flyer programs to provide more rewards, wider recognition and access to more airport lounges, and more codeshare agreements and connecting flights between member airlines. They need those considering they only have 13 members.
And who is this run by?
OneWorld is run by the OneWorld Alliance, like their chair.
Yeah, but
governing board.
which one is the American one that's in it?
American Airlines.
Okay. And then the other one is Sky Team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Delta.
Yes.
Sky Team, headquartered at Schiphol. Star Alliance, headquartered at Frankfurt. And OneWorld Alliance, headquartered in Houston. No, I'm sorry, in... Where was it? Yeah.
I thought it was Houston.
Yeah. No. It's Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because Houston... No. Yeah, Houston is owned by United, and Dallas Love Field is owned by Southwest, and Dallas Fort Worth Airport is owned by...
It's not really accurate to say they're owned by... It's more accurate to say they... Maintain control.
Yeah.
Let's see. They were in Vancouver, Canada, then Park Avenue in New York City, and later on, once they started to grow, they moved their headquarters to Fort Worth, Texas.
Wait, they were headquartered in Vancouver? Why? Porter?
No, Porter just came on the scene like 2 or 3 years ago.
Then why were they in Vancouver?
Because it was the major city right next to Seattle, which was the headquarters of Alaska Airlines, which is one of their members.
Okay. Before Alaska...
Yeah. The only crew membership consists of Alaska Airlines, American Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Finnair, Iberia, Japan Airlines, JL, Malaysia Airlines, Qantas, Qatar, Royal Air Maroc, Royal Jordanian, and Sri Lankan.
Well, if we were going to base it on what is the most reliable air carrier of the bunch, then I'm sorry, I would have to ask why it's not located in Haneda.
Because Japan doesn't allow corporate entities to exist in airports.
That is a fair assessment.
Let's see, they fly 3,300 collective aircraft and serve 1,000 airports in 170 countries, carrying over 490 million passengers per year on 13,000 plus daily departures, which is the lowest amount of all major alliances.
Well, like you said, they are the smallest, so...
It's the smallest, and for good reason. They were created in... where was it? 1999. Created to compete with Star Alliance and Sky Team. Well, Sky Team was created a bit later, but primarily Star Alliance.
Yeah.
They saw Star Alliance as a huge threat.
Well, yeah, because American got its panties in a bunch. They've never gotten it out of a bunch. Then they keep trying to replace the skid marks on it because they suck. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is a personal opinion, not held by Brooke In The Air. That is Techman's personal opinion. We're just going to set that caveat for all of you American airline
going
lovers.
to write that out. But yes, they're headquartered in Fort Worth. They travel to 1,000 airports, 170 destinations. Fly collectively 3,300 aircraft. Let's see.
I'm actually surprised
13
Aer
members.
Lingus hasn't joined with them. It would make sense.
They were a member early on, and they decided to become unaffiliated with any alliance.
Now they're questioning that, probably.
Now they have codeshare agreements with airlines from every major alliance.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they looked at Emirates, Etihad, and Qatar and went, ooh, we want to be like them.
Wait. Okay. The Irish thought they could have as much money as the oil barons.
Of the Middle East, yeah. Although Qatar did join OneWorld.
Well, yeah, Qatar joined OneWorld, and Emirates is pretty much getting close to joining the Star Alliance.
Pretty much, you're still buddy-buddy at this point. It's like the only thing you need to do is just sign the dotted line.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not going to say that because that's for a whole nother ball of wax. I'm not going to make the American Middle East comparison. I'm going to leave that one though.
Let's see. So that's their primary logo, the OneWorld in the orb, as they call it, the blue orb.
Have they changed it since 1999?
No.
I felt the need to ask that because it felt like that was important. All right, on the next one?
Yeah. So next we have Cathay Pacific, a founding member, in their OneWorld livery.
Now, Cathay Pacific is one of the best airlines, right?
In the world. One of the best. They continuously compete with their neighbor airline, Singapore. Cathay Pacific based in Hong Kong and Singapore based in Singapore. There's only like that much difference between the two.
Well, comparatively speaking, if we're looking at the Pacific Ocean.
I mean, there's literally less than 1,000 miles between the two.
Well, if you think about it, 1,000 miles in America references pretty far.
If we were just going 1,000 miles, yes. So this is a Cathay Pacific 777-300ER.
Oh, you mean one of the still functioning Boeings?
Must you?
Yes. I am giving a warning. I will make fun of Boeing a lot, and we can cover that a little bit, or she may cover that in a different episode, but it is probably something that needs to be covered as of late events.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, more than likely, we're probably going to cover Boeing next week. We should.
We should, by any means, yes.
And then the next week we cover Airbus.
Let's see.
Anywho.
Next we have Finnair. Finnair is also one of the best airlines in the world.
Oh, you mean it's better than SAS?
Yes. Because whereas SAS represents Scandinavia, which is Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
And Finland, technically, but Finns have their own.
Yes, Finnair represents Finland, and this is their flag carrier.
And it's entirely paid for by the government, right?
Yeah. State-owned.
Because Finland, somehow, put this in your mind, people, Finland is that rich.
Well, it's not that they're that rich, it's that they have that much authority and that much influence.
Well, I was also making a point that Finland is one of the happiest countries. You get most of the stuff provided for you there. Like, they figured out how to make the system work, even while not having as much gross domestic product as somewhere like, oh, I don't know, Qatar. They got it to work, and they have free healthcare and rights.
Technically, Finland is bigger than Qatar, too.
Right, but they don't have a crap ton. Oh, wait, maybe they do. I think, don't they have a crap ton of oil?
Offshore.
And Nokia.
And Nokia, yeah. Which also provides a lot of tech for their fighters.
Mm-hmm. And they were also Saab, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, the
Part of
Saab
Saab.
Gripen you see flying around, that is a finished product.
Mm.
Yeah, well, it is finished compared to the F-35. But
Oh, the F-35 becoming very popular.
well, yeah, because they finally got it working for the most part. Now if they could just get the V-22 Osprey to do that.
So yeah. So this is JAL at Haneda. I know we're just kind of like covering airlines, but it's important to see different areas around the world.
Yeah.
JAL in their OneWorld livery.
You're hitting the sign.
Now this goes out to the credit of S.J. Biles. He took the photograph. Very good aircraft photographer.
Oh, and that is a glorious picture. I also, those are those the same? Or is that a newer version?
No, there's two different aircraft. The far one is in a Boeing 777-300ER, and the other one is an Airbus A350.
Yeah, because the big thing that I noticed was the winglets.
Mm-hmm. Or as Airbus calls them, circlets. Same exact thing, but different marketing names.
Yeah, the big thing is you can tell how much one side mostly copied the other in this, because without the tips of the wings, they look very, very similar, except for maybe their cockpits as well.
An easy way to tell is to look at the nose and look at the wings.
Yep, and those are the two things I noticed as well. Oh, and something interesting, the far one has triple tires on the rear.
Yep. The Airbus A350 does not.
Mm-hmm.
They have quads, but they have bigger tires too.
And what's even funnier is you can tell the Airbus is on the runway and the Boeing is, it needs a push cart.
Boeing sexying to the gate.
Mm.
Airbus is getting ready to leave.
But yes, to cover Japan Airlines for a moment, they've had an interesting history.
They've had a tumultuous history.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that because some of their crashes on Japan Airlines have been the worst in the nation. Far worse than ANA.
Oh yeah. I mean, people got all up in arms because ANA had their big crash like a couple of days after New Year's.
But that was nothing compared to JL 123.
Yeah, we can touch on that. Back in the 90s or so, maybe 80s. A 747-200 for operating for Japan Airlines.
Locally, by the
yes,
way.
locally for a festival. Was carrying over 500 people.
Yeah, I think it was 500 something.
Yeah, in a single class configuration, and they had hydraulic problems when their rear stabilizer broke off.
And
the tail just disappeared.
Oh, it was a fatigue crack, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was not repaired correctly, and the captain didn't know how to handle it, and it was bad.
Well, we had very poor crew resource management.
Yeah, that was before the crew resource management really took off, and that was one of the reasons you had a older captain, especially with the Japanese way of respecting elders, especially at that time. It turned into kind of a cluster.
It did, and there was no real recovering from that either until the early 2000s, when they started to become very dogmatically adhering to the ICAO protocols.
Mm. But if we were just to look at it from a standpoint of the plane itself, they could have controlled it with the engine, which also wasn't done until later. But the captain was just held together with fear and couldn't cope.
Because if you look at the history behind that accident, United Airlines Flight 216, I believe, had a very similar incident happen, and they lost all hydraulic control, and they ended outside of Sioux City, Iowa. And there was actually a movie based on this, starring Charlton Heston.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up crashing into a cornfield, but because of the captain's actions, they ended up saving 168 people.
I don't think that wasn't the one that crashed in the cornfield. That was the one that cartwheeled on the runway, wasn't it?
There's only one that crashed in Sioux City.
Yeah, I thought that was the one that cartwheeled.
This isn't cartwheeling. No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but there was a second time that actually happened as well. You remember the episode in
Depending on what we're talking, what episode we're talking about.
The one where it was the cargo plane out of Iraq that had the entire wing taken off by the entire wing damaged by a surface-to-air missile.
Completely different. That was on purpose.
No, but the connection is that they were able to bring it down safely by using the engines. All 3 members survived. Of course, they somehow landed the plane in a minefield and then walked out, which that's
completely irrelevant to this discussion.
Well, it was because it was engine control. They lost all their hydraulics.
Yes, but again, they were shot at.
Well, yeah.
With a missile. That's how they lost it. It wasn't just, oh, we lost our hydraulics. No. It wasn't because of the other instance. Japan 123 and United 216.
Yeah.
Completely different there.
Yeah.
I
mean, the fatigue crack for Japan Airlines ripped the tail just fell off, and it had been there for so long after the doubler plate was put on that if you looked closely, you could actually see the cigarette levels in the tar from where it was basically leaking out of the plane. It was one of those, holy crap, how did you miss this thing?
Now, for those who don't know, a doubler plate is simply a metal replacement plate that maintenance crews put on the aircraft and weld it into place.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Or they can also rivet it.
Rivet or weld, it depends on maintenance officer's discretion, really.
Yeah.
But it's one of the two. I mean, that's all it is. It's a single plate.
Yeah.
If, say, this was a crack in the aircraft, I would put a single plate up there, that would be double plate.
Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to cover the entire crack and make it stop. And that was, 23 years from a tail strike?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But, anyway. Enough of the side tangent.
I have covered a little bit of the history of OneWorld. If you want to see the entire history, so I'm not rambling on here forever and a day, feel free to check out my blog. I have that linked on my page, on my channel.
Yes, seriously, people, her blog is absolutely fascinating. It gets updated roughly about, every Saturday?
Every Saturday, I have not missed a day. The only days I missed is when I've been traveling.
Or completely sick.
Even then.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you did post. But usually, all this is a vocal and picture representation of what she's done in a bit shortened for you guys, so we're not talking for, God, what would it be, 3-4 hours?
At least, yeah.
If we were to cover the stuff. And the blog also has more stuff, some things that we don't cover here, because we try and take a good look at it and see, okay, what would people be interested in? And we have to do that because as much as we would like to cover the stuff that you guys are interested in,
you guys don't participate.
Yeah, we need more interaction. We'd love for you guys to have more interaction. We'll do the planes that you want us to do.
Go on flights that you asked me to go on. I'll drag him with me as my cameraman. Anything you guys want me to do, I'll do. I mean, as long as it's within legalistic reasons.
Yeah, we prefer not to do some of the stuff that other people have done, so please don't ask us to fly on the El Cheapo carriers or to go to 5 locations in 24 to 48 hours. I mean, guys, seriously. When
Jeb Brooks, great guy by the way, huge fan, but when he goes to every United hub across the continental U.S., that's ridiculous.
Just bruh.
Now, this celebrates OneWorld's 10th anniversary, and this was their celebratory emblem. It was the same blue orb that they've used for countless years now, but they put a 10 behind it.
It took so much work to paint it, you guys.
And it did celebrate with the heads of their 13-member airlines with cake.
Cake. The cake is a lie. I couldn't identify this group. Who is this?
This is S7 Airlines, and a Russian airline. Currently sanctioned and suspended from membership.
So technically they're down to 12.
technically they've done 12, although they do anticipate one airline moving to them because SAS has been kicked out of Star Alliance with their acquisition.
Oh, right. One of theirs is KLM that they have in there. So technically, since SAS was bought by KLM for the most part, it's the same thing as, what was it? What's happening to the Korean Airlines, I think?
Yeah, Korean Air isn't going nowhere, but because Korean Air is a member of SkyTeam, and they acquired Asiana.
So technically, SkyTeam is getting... No. Yeah, SkyTeam is getting one. OneWorld is getting one. And
Star Alliance is getting 2. After Lufthansa finishes their acquisition of ITA Airways for Italy. Because, for those of you who don't recall, ITA Airways is the successor of Alitalia. After Alitalia went bankrupt. Lufthansa owns a 41% stake, and they are looking to reacquire the rest.
Yeah. So, to give you guys an idea, Lufthansa is now pretty close to on the same level as the biggest airline conglomerate in the world. Nobody can compete with them, and they try and run their stuff well. For the most part, I honestly think that the baggage handlers and the people at Frankfurt Airport would disagree with me.
Frankfurt, Munich, Berlin, Brandenburg, and a bunch of airports around Europe, really.
Well, you know why I'm mentioning Frankfurt, right? Because remember, they've got a massive strike still going on.
I haven't forgotten. It's been on my phone.
Hopefully good stuff comes from that, but we'll see.
This is our next day of full strike, so flight attendants, baggage handlers, ticket agents are all on strike.
So we got out of there kind of just in time.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is Malaysian Airlines in their OneWorld livery. You might remember Malaysian Airlines as the losers of MH370.
Oh, no. They didn't lose that. Let's be honest. It was taken from them. And I mean, what is it now? 10 years since
10 years. 2014 to 2024.
And what's the news on that one? I believe there was some updated
There's
news.
a very, very almost confirmed conjecture that the pilot, Zahari Ahmad Shah...
Now, is this the pilot or the co-pilot?
The pilot.
The captain.
The captain.
Okay, continue.
Who had been with the airline for 30 years. Not to be confused with First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, which had been with the airline for maybe 5 years at this point, and was, I think, 25.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the captain was trusted because this was before they put the two-man rule into place out there, wasn't it?
Just about, and in reality what happened was, or what they think happened, what they're pretty sure at this point, was that the captain took control of the aircraft after it reached like 30,000 feet or whatever, and crossed into Vietnamese airspace, and turned the transponder off, and depressurized the captain to kill everyone on board.
And that was, of course, after having the co-pilot go to the restroom or something, and then he locked the door, then turned the transponder off, then put his mask on, then depressurized the cabin, basically
because
turning everybody into Helios Airways.
Pretty much, and because remember, although passengers, after an aircraft is depressurized, have maybe 20 minutes of air with masks. However, the pilot and anyone else in the cockpit who has the means available have roughly 13 hours of air. There is a gigantic oxygen tank in the cockpit. Outside.
Yeah.
It's like in the lower fuselage.
And that is because, in case everything else goes to hell, they need to have the pilots be functional no matter what.
Yeah.
The oxygen parts for the passengers are actually chemically generated. They're not from a tank at all.
Yeah. One of you has two means. They have giant tanks in the fuselage, or the oxygen is generated from the engines and mixed into a chemical tank and pumped into the cockpit.
Yeah, because they probably have a filtration system somewhere. that pushes the air through.
Generally speaking, yes.
So, but because of all that, there were extenuating circumstances on why he did it, I believe.
Because he had political ties to a party that was not well liked in Malaysia. He had outstanding bank debts, and he had a very unstable marriage.
I think it was a massive divorce that was just served to him, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he
That
wanted...
very morning.
Yeah. So, I think part of the big reason is he wanted to deny his wife from getting anything.
And I think they're pretty sure it was him because he had a map of the exact route that MH370 took on his home simulator.
So yeah, he had been preparing this probably, well, for a while, and the straw that broke the camel's back was probably his divorce.
Probably. Now, mind you, this is not confirmed by any means. This is conjecture based on reliable reports.
Yes, we're not pulling CNN with this, guys.
But basically, I mean, we're not aviation experts. I pretty much am, but regardless of the fact, for legal purposes, we're not aviation experts.
Yeah, we're not going to guess like CNN did in the first days of it, which turned out to be a gigantic mess. I'm giving them crap for that because, let's be honest, they could have done better. They could have done due diligence, and as a news organization, a big one, it is their job.
So anyway, Malaysia has tried for the last 10 years to rebuild their reputation, rebuild their image, rebuild their PR campaigns, rebuild their pilot training, and trust from the public.
Yeah. And they've done pretty good. It's not like they're Indonesia.
Even though they pretty much border Indonesia anyway.
Well, they border, but they don't act in the same cavalier way that the Indonesian airlines do.
Yeah.
I mean, we could cover a whole episode on Indonesia's interesting.
Easily, yeah. So these are the founding members of OneWorld. We have, starting from the bottom and going up, Qantas, and their massive A380, which they should be retiring, I believe, here within the next year and a half or so. We have Cathay Pacific, Canadian Midland, which has actually been absorbed in Air Canada, so they don't matter anymore. British Airways and American Airlines.
Oh yeah, that's one that we didn't cover is British Airways. Oh, the amount of crap we can talk about British Airways, which isn't entirely their fault.
They just had a $7 billion restoration, or £7 billion.
Well, and the big thing, honestly, that I would say probably the biggest hated part about British Airways is that it's not the airline that needs fixing, it's London Heathrow.
Now, you forget, British Airways flies out of 3 airports in London.
Right.
London Heathrow, London Gatwick, and London City.
Yeah. Now, Gatwick and London City itself, from what I've heard, are okay, but their biggest main one is London Heathrow, and right now, if I remember correctly from the last couple of weeks, they're going through massive logistical problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what was it, in one of the episodes we watched from somebody, it was either Noel Phillips or Josh Cahill or somebody. What was it, 2 hours to the gate from landing?
Josh Cahill, and that was 3 hours to the gate.
Yeah, so that beats out far and away LAX, New York JFK.
Now, mind you, that's just the time it took from the plane was on the ground, taxiing to the gate, and letting passengers off.
And that was a combination of that they had to wait for a gate to open, they had to keep circling around to a ridiculous level, and again, the max time that I think somebody's ever experienced at LAX was 45 minutes.
At most.
And then JFK was, what, an hour and a half, I think, on a bad day?
On a bad day, yeah. About an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, even at Irragandhi Airport, which has its own logistical issues.
And Newark has basically, the bigger an airport is, the more issues it has. Which is no fault of the airport, it's just the way human beings work.
Yeah. It's almost like, to use an example, it's like Los Angeles freeways. The bigger you make it, the more lanes, the worse it's going to get. So when you've got a 10-lane freeway, It's the same thing as having a massive airport. People are going to want to fill the spots. And then when stuff breaks down, bad things happen. So, like, for instance, if you get a massive snowstorm in London Heathrow, you might as well dedicate half your day.
Yeah, in fact, most airports in the Northern Hemisphere have heated runways and heated taxiways and
ridged ones as well.
Yeah, to clear snow off and keep ice free.
Mm-hmm.
Because they learned after certain disasters to avoid that.
Yeah. I mean, that's something else that if we hear from anybody, we can go through certain disasters on flying and how the airline industry has learned from it. Because it is actually utterly fascinating. Like, we will be taking reference from a show that has been on for, oh Lord,
22 years.
I thought it was up to 25.
25 seasons, 22 years.
Yes, yeah.
Service.
Yeah. Which some of the disasters are utterly fascinating on what was done to fix the issues, and sometimes you'll almost be aghast at what actually happened. Like, there were gentlemen's agreements to fix things. You'll also we could talk about the history of aviation of see and avoid, and the fact that one of the worst crashes for a while was over the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah. And the worst crash of all time, the Tenerife disaster.
That was based on fog and stupidity.
And the arrogance of a certain pilot.
That's why I labeled it stupidity.
It was arrogance.
Yeah. And seriously, most pilot errors are because, and I quote, I thought.
And 95% of crashes are from pilot error.
Yeah. Now, mind you, there are extenuating circumstances. There's also a sheer level of heroism by some of the pilots. I mean, British Midlands, for example, like you mentioned them before. Shall we talk about the one where the window blew out because of the bolts?
Mm-hmm. That was entirely a maintenance issue.
Oh, yeah. We kid you not, the bolts weren't long enough. Who does that remind us of?
Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases.
Oh, there's another Alaska one, too. Almost forgot about it. The jack screw?
Now, they don't fly those type of aircraft anymore, but they still have had issues.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't help that, as we've said before in a couple other episodes, aircraft safety is built on blood.
Unfortunately, passengers of the present, or the past in this case, die to make passengers of the future safe.
Mm-hmm. And sadly, Boeing does have a history of blood and bodies on their hands that they don't want to fully admit. I mean, would you want to admit that, yes, our aircraft have been made safer by the fact that we figured out what not to do by the sheer amount of deaths?
Would you want to be in the congressional testimony when Boeing gives that?
Oh, let's be honest. They're going to do what every single other aircraft manufacturer or airline company did. They're going to try and hide it for a little while until they have to just give up.
Next.
Yeah. Oh, that is the last one.
That's the last one?
Yeah.
Alright. Short one for today, guys. Very sorry about that. But there was.
That's also why we went on tangents.
There wasn't really much to cover for OneWorld. But if you would like to get the entire story, please read my blog. I have everything posted on there. You can my Patreon to support my work.
And remember, guys, she does have a contest going on, which is why the more you guys follow, the better chance you have of
being drawn to join me on a trip
mm-hmm.
in the next year or so.
Yeah. Same thing with the more you donate, the more you have a chance of telling us what you would like to see. So again, if you donate some ridiculous level a month, like, let's say $100 a month for a certain time, and you say, hey, we want you guys to go and visit, I don't know, Rome or Nice, or...
And give us a report on it. Sure, we'll do that.
Yeah.
If you really want me to review Spirit Airlines, I will do that.
If you want us to review African Airlines and you've paid us enough money in Patreon donations, we will do it.
As much as it may be risk.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, it'll be a lot more than reviewing something like Spirit Airlines because we gonna get insurance.
And we have to send our visas ahead.
Oh yeah,
passports.
Yeah. A lot of our stuff that we're referencing is stuff that the great Josh Cahill has done, even though he's a crazy man.
And Josh, we say crazy in the best ways because you're amazing, and you're a hero for a lot of advocates out there.
But dude, some of the airlines.
Insane. Take a deep breath, settle down, have some tea, and a nap, and relax.
Yeah. Same thing for you, Patrick Shea. It's like, dude, I don't know why you went on Ugandan Airlines. If it was nice, great, but I do not trust any African airlines.
Oh, because it was the A330-800, which is not really produced much.
It'd be like somebody going on the 747 from Lufthansa. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we will have another vlog for you next week. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I appreciate you all. I will see you in the air, and I will see you then.